did affirmations, I did subliminal messages, I did meditations, I did absolutely anything that you can think of, until I actually found something different that changed the path of everything. So don't get me wrong, I want to immediately tell you that all those things, they are great, but sometimes certain things, they are not allowing to move us forward because they are holding us back, because our energy is something that is not allowing us to actually bring the new energy into our, let's say, cup, right? So if we imagine our energy like a glass with, I don't know, water. So for example, for myself, I feel like I had a glass of water, but also it had dirt in it. So I cannot actually fill my glass with new fresh water, which would be representing new fresh energy. And of course, it would represent new opportunities that would be coming up into my life, opportunities, love relationship, or friendships, and anything that you want to manifest. So the thing is that we have to make space for new things. So when I was saying that, okay, I was doing all those things like affirmations, subliminal messages and everything, I was actually doing something that is a good representation. Let's say there's a thermostat and there is temperature around. So with affirmations, with meditations, with trying to focus on everything good, this is where I tried turning like everything that is around, which meaning I tried changing the temperature in order for thermostat to change, but it's so hard, and it's very hard to keep everything around to make sure that that temperature is the way I like it, rather than actually making sure that I am the one who is changing the thermostat. Agree with me, it's way easier, and it only makes sense to change the thermostat because otherwise you're actually battling against something that is naturally doing its work. So this is where shadow works really come into place. When I'm saying shadow work, I'm talking about the general shadow work, and also something that I found from Teal Swan, which is called the process. So I really like these two combined together. It really allows you to actually go in deep and make sure that you're changing the thermostat to the temperature that you like, so actually surroundings can start adjusting. If you imagine like the emotional scale, you cannot get there from being here immediately, so it has to come up little by little. So the process and shadow work, this is where you unravel. So for example, if you have some kind of emotion, so it has all of those different emotions on top of it. So for example, if it's anger and you want to go to love, so it has a lot of layers on top of it. So you have to little by little actually taking the time, taking the patience, taking the compassion, and actually solving and helping yourself out to go through each and every level of that. And so, for example, if you can imagine anything that bothers you, anything that brings you to those memories, or if you just have a very strong base emotions. For example, most of people, they have anxiety, they have depression, they have fear, and a lot of other things. So when you can focus on, for example, an event or an emotion, whichever comes first, what emotion do you feel? And then where is it in your body? When you find that place in your body, make sure to put your hands on that part of your body so you can actually focus your energy there. Then breathe a couple of times into it slowly, no rush. And first of all, you have to have that understanding before you go in. This emotion, it's actually trying to tell you something. It's someone who just needs to be nurtured. So for example, if you see a little kid and he is crying, and for example, it's your kid, you want to make sure that you show him compassion. This is how you're actually connecting with emotion itself. And all of the emotions, they have particular information in them. So if you didn't get the information, if you did not feel the emotion that has to be felt, and that energy can actually move through you and actually can increase, this is where you're not able to learn from that emotion. So if you're not learning that necessary information, you cannot move forward. If you're learning math, you cannot start going from university level if you don't even know how to add numbers. So you have to go level by level when it comes to it, and that information, it comes accordingly in the right time when you're ready for it. So this is why a lot of opportunities are getting stuck and they're not coming to you, because you're not ready for them. And honestly, you would actually lose those opportunities even though they are meant for you, just because you don't have the information how to deal with them. This is why a lot of manifestations that are meant for you, they are not happening, and they won't happen unless you're actually going to clear your energy and you're going to go up. You're going to have the information that you have, and this is where you're able to move forward. To give you an example in what actually happened to me, so when I was growing up, so I lost my dad when I was very young, and my mom, she had her man. Essentially, me and my sister, we always felt that we were taken care of financially, but it was never something that actually brought us connection, that we were understood, that we felt cared for. From outside, it actually seemed that, oh, everything is good. They always ate well, they are always so like pretty, they always like wear nice clothes, but the reality is of course completely different. So when I was growing up, this is where I didn't have that connection and I didn't feel loved, so of course I didn't feel like I deserved to be loved or even heard. And also my sister was the one who was more rebellious than I was. She was the one who was creating more problems, and I was the one who was like a peacemaker. I was a people pleaser. And don't get me wrong, like I'm still working through it, and it's not an easy thing to go through, but it definitely got a lot better. And right now, it's if you would have seen me, I don't know, let's say even 5 years ago, I would say even 3 years ago, it was a big difference. So actually, when I talk about 3 years ago, so this is where my journey took a turn, because before that, like I was very into spirituality, all of those topics, but I didn't completely understand. I just wanted to believe those things, but I didn't have the understanding how to. Reading all of those things, all of the stuff that was easy for me to comprehend, that was lighthearted. So for example, oh, just focus on things that you want. Oh, just say that you love this and that. But the thing is that for me, it was even hard to feel actually sincerely grateful for things, right? Because there's a lot that goes into it when you grow up as a neglected child. And even though it was the situation, I really had to come to the point where I see that, okay, nothing is actually working. So what happened 3 years ago is I actually separated from my previous boyfriend, and this is where I felt like very like kind of lonely, I would say. And at that point, I literally never showed any real emotions to people that are around me. So why was that happening? Because I never thought that I would be loved just for being human and for experiencing those normal things, bad emotions. So of course, I wasn't even open to myself about the things that I was experiencing, and I was like, it's gonna be okay. I always had that attitude, everything's gonna be okay, but I wasn't going actually in deep. So at that point, I also on top of it got hurt by another person, and I'm like, okay, like this is bullshit. And I kind of, even though I really want a relationship, everything that was coming from my past, because this is what I was familiar with, is either someone who showed me interest that is like a bad guy, you know, always like hot and cold, showing interest, not showing interest. Basically, I always felt like I'm not a priority. And the other side was where I'm like, okay, so there's either those guys, either it's going to be someone who's like extremely nice, so basically a nice guy. So this is who I dated before. I felt that this is not exactly what I want. Like I want a masculine man, and however, I didn't see any examples around me. It was hard for me to comprehend, even though like a little bit here and there I was able to see, but for me it was nothing that I've seen like my age that would make sense, that okay, there's actually someone who can be that what I want. For me, it was even hard to wish for someone that I actually want with all of the attributes and everything. So first of all, I wasn't even able to tap into what I wanted. So first I started going through Affirmations. This is where I got introduced to one book. It's basically a book called Love Like Your Life Depends on It. This is where a guy was just saying to himself, I love myself, even when he didn't believe it. So I got so much hope from that book. I'm like, okay, this should work. I don't need any more affirmations. I just need to believe this and I'm gonna be fine. So I told myself, okay, this is the only thing that I'm gonna focus on. So at that point, I was working 9-to-5 job. Literally, my job has finished. Out of the office, immediately I just sit there and I'm just love myself, just to make sure that I actually get it into my mind. The first month was absolutely, I felt like I was going against myself, because I felt I was lying to myself, because I didn't believe that. Even after months, some people, they were like, oh, okay, like eventually the brain is going to believe. So I kept on going. I did 2 months, I did 3 months. It did feel a little bit better. However, I still didn't feel like this is something that is actually truthful for me. This is actually where I found Aaron Doughty, and he's talking about shadow work a lot. This is where I started to go in and understand that a little bit more deep. When I started working with myself through the shadow work, also on top of that, I'm implementing Teal Swan's the process. So I basically combine these two, and I just go into meditation, and this is where I actually unravel those and peel all of those layers one by one. This is where things started changing for me. First of all, that I actually sincerely felt that I am so valuable, I'm so fun. I started seeing myself in a completely different light. I started to be compassionate to myself. I stopped pleasing literally everyone that I could have pleased. I started to be more open with people. I started to be more authentic. So essentially what shadow work does, it helps you to unravel yourself, who you truly are, and you're able to go into the world unapologetically yourself. So essentially this process really helps, first of all, to clarify who you really are, because so many people, they are lost who I am because they are stuck in those emotions that they keep on coming back, and they cannot have the space for new energy to come in order to have those different changes and in order to understand themselves. And also when you understand yourself, like everything comes from the inside, this is when you're differently reacting to people outside of you. So this is where your manifestations start happening like this. So when I worked this out and I actually start feeling so fulfilled, so loved, I literally did not need anyone with me. I felt so, it's hard to explain, and you don't need to just like, okay, I need to tell this to myself. You naturally are sitting in that space where you actually do love yourself. Imagine your body as like boat, and you're the captain. So the mind is basically as a captain, and your emotions is something that is anchor. So that anchor dropped, and you cannot move forward if that anchor is not going to be pulled up. So imagine every different situation, every different trigger is basically a separate anchor. Doesn't matter how much you're going to do around, like everything surrounding that anchor, you're not able to move forward. The moment you pull it up, this is where everything starts to flow. And also on top of that, imagine you have the trigger, you have that anchor dropped, but life still is happening. So sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's thunderstorm. And because that anchor is in there, if the anchor is actually pulled up, then you are able to navigate that boat how you want. But if it's not, you're a little bit fucked. So when it was solved out for me, this is where I felt, that's it, like the ship is moving. I'm going where I want. I literally don't need anything from anyone. So this is the key point where you reach through this work, the moment where you don't need anything from anyone. This is it. This is where you start attracting new things. I also love another kind of metaphor. You have a garden. Nothing new grows in it. Why? Because your soil is filled with bad weeds. So you have to unravel all of those bad weeds before you put the new seeds in. Because if you start putting new, fresh, beautiful seeds, which I say, for example, affirmations or subliminal messages and meditations, this is where your soil is not ready to actually grow something because it needs help itself. So first of all, you take care of that, then you plant the seeds on, and this is where you can actually have that beautiful growth. And of course, when it comes down to nurturing, this is where you keep on saying those affirmations, feeling good, enjoying everything around you, feeling grateful. All of those things, they come kind of naturally. Like truthfully, you don't need to even focus on that too much. So this is how you get like so fast into that manifestation kind of roller coaster, I would say, and you just get swooped in. Continuing with my story, this is where my life was so simple. I was doing my 9-to-5 job, I was doing photo shoots because I love photography, and I went to a gym and I just did shadow work. So my simple life like that, I loved it so much, and I was like, I don't understand, like everything is like it was, but I'm just loving every day. I'm getting up very, very excited for it. And this is where opportunities started coming to me. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I even need to choose because they're coming at once at the same time. So when it comes down to this and I'm already feeling good, this is where I actually use meditation. And I'm like, okay, just sit down and feel which one actually excites you more. You're more drawn to it. I even started taking a few opportunities at once because everything seemed so exciting for me. And they literally dropped out of nowhere. But the route that I actually took, magically, it brought me more money than ever before. No one understood what is happening around, and on top of that, I met the love of my life. and right now he's actually sitting in the in the room right there. And the thing is that everything just starts falling into place, and when we connected and we talked for everything, he actually manifested me as well. So everything just starts aligning, but first of all, you have to align inside. So very important thing that I want to mention, that you shouldn't get stuck in the shadow work too much. So every day about like 30-40 minutes is definitely enough, maybe up to an hour, and then you move on, you feel good, you use all those meditations, affirmations, if you feel like it. But truthfully, like just this is going to absolutely change everything. That I can promise you. Like it changed everything for me after no changes for years, literally for years and years and years. So make sure that you spend some time, right? If you need some help, you can actually reach out to me. I would love to do a session with you as well, one-on-one. I will guide you through everything, because also if there is someone who can actually help you guide through the process, it's going to be even easier and the process is going to move even faster. But if you want to do it by yourself, absolutely, I'm going to share more and more things from that side as well. Also, I really recommend you checking out the process from Teal Swan and Julian himself. His content, it's absolutely amazing. Aaron Doughty as well, I mentioned to you. So those resources are going to help you a lot. So talking about not getting stuck in that shadow work, essentially if you can align shadow work, and then when you feel good self in your body, this is where you can start implementing other stuff, actually focusing on things that you really want, and you can start unraveling what you actually want. Because I did realize when I was stuck in those lower emotions, the things I wanted, they were actually not the things that I wanted. I thought that I wanted them for different reasons, and it's just the frequency that made me think that I actually want those things. And when my frequency increased, I actually got the clarity on what I want. And this is extremely, extremely important, because this is where the true happiness really comes from. So the most important thing for you to start attracting things is to make sure that you are adjusting your neutral state, right? So if you're continuously depressed, anxious, or anything else in the lower spectrum of the whole emotional scale, this is where you need to make sure to actually do the shadow work or the process from Teal Swan. This is where your energy is going to naturally go up, and you don't need to fight inside yourself to actually feel good. So after you feel already good, after you do the work, and your natural state is going to increase, this is where you can start implementing affirmations, meditations, subliminal messages, actually starting figuring out what you really want in your life. Because for me, for example, it really, really changed when I was feeling bad, and my neutral state, like my base state, was feeling all of those, especially anxiety and fear was a big one. So I wanted from that state. So when my state increased, this is where I started wanting more things, and they made more sense to me, because I actually knew that this is something that is going to bring me continuous happiness rather than something that I thought that I want. Remember that essentially when it comes down to your emotions and attracting what you want, so your emotional state is basically the soil. So think what kind of quality is your soil right now, right? First of all, take off the soil, and this is where shadow work really comes in, to make sure to prepare that soil to feel good. And then when you feel good, this is where you start planting those seeds. And those seeds, this is where you're going to nurture them with all the affirmations, gratitude, also meditation, and everything in between. And you're going to see how actually fast everything starts moving and everything starts growing, and literally opportunity is going to come out of nowhere. You won't be able to explain how on earth did that even happen, because literally the best things right now, when I reflect on everything, and especially after getting to know this process, like the shadow work, this is where it actually start to make, in a way, sense. In another way, that didn't make sense how everything is coming, but I know that I was doing the right thing. So please make sure to listen to me, because this is going to help you immensely. You're going to feel way better, and you're going to track things way, way, way faster. And yet again, if you want some help from me, I would be more than happy to actually work with you. So reach out to me. I will leave my email down below. And yeah, other than that, I would love to hear your golden nuggets down below, and hopefully this helps you, and hopefully you will listen to me and actually start doing this work with yourself, because I really want to see you start changing and feeling better in general, right? If you don't need anything, everything starts coming to you. Everything that you want, everything how you feel like right now, this is what is going to attract all of those things to you. So what you feel, this is what you attract. And more about that on my channel later on.